What's going on, everybody? This is Claudian Fair. Let's talk about Wartales Starting Tips and Tricks Edition. So the biggest thing here that I want to go over is what my standard start would be in Tiltron at this point in time going into 2023 for all of you out there who are new to Wartales and just want to have a push in the right direction. This isn't necessarily the best start, but it does teach you most of the fundamentals on how to play the game, as well as getting you off on the right foot and teaching you other mechanics that you may or may not want to utilize throughout the rest of the game. So first things first, after you fight this beginning tutorial fight, I like to head a little bit to the southeast and navigate to the Tiltron jail and pick up at least 2, if not 3 sets of chains. Now, this is very important when you are in a co-op game. You may want to grab 4. That way you and whoever else can split up the amount of chains, like realistically, because in co-op you have to have chains in each player's inventory in order for you to actually capture people. But this leads us into the capturing prisoners mechanic. In Tiltron and other various starting regions, there are jails where you can capture, or rather turn in, outlaws and bandits for a profit. And this profit margin scales based off of what level that the bandits and outlaws are. Starting off, you will really want to make use of the capture mechanic because you will be able to net an extra 60 plus crowns per capture, and it will really help you be able to afford not only food, but your wages, as well as recruit new units and expand upon your armor from the wandering traders. Now, once that I've got these chains here, I'm actually going to continue to the southwest, navigate past these people who are drunk and whatnot, and not even fight them. I typically don't fight this group until later on in the game when I'm finally tired of running past them, and I like to go to the salt mine. Now, the salt mine, there's multiple different ways that you can actually access the salt mine and be able to mine the iron here, but I typically spend my influence because it's a net wash on influence spent. So you can talk to this man, spend 15 influence, and gain access to mine all of the iron here forever. So this unlocks the mining profession for you, which is very useful, especially early game, because it gives you a nice steady source of iron. And in later levels, it also lets you mine gems that appear while you're mining iron. Once I mine all of the iron out of here, you simply talk to the man again, and he will give you your 15 influence back, and they'll go back to mining salt. You can unlock the thief profession here simply by clicking on the salt container here and hitting steal, and it unlocks the profession. If you want to steal the salt, go for it. If you don't, then don't. But anyway, that's enough for this little salt mine. The mine will replenish on iron once a week, so 7 in-game days, and this is just the start of my normal pathway here. Now that I've got at least my set here, I like to travel a little bit more to the west and then cut through the woods going to the north. Hopefully I can run into some wolves or boars, or maybe even outlaws, and depending on what I run into, it leads into what my next focus is. If I run into outlaws, I'm going to prioritize heading back to the jail just so I can collect the bounties on them and get a little bit of extra crowns before I head to Stromcap. If I run into boars or wolves, I like to stockpile up on the food and then prioritize investing in getting a cooking pot set up so I can unlock the cook profession and then start making cooked pork and wolf sausage later on. Once I reach Stromcap, depending on what resources I have available after mining and picking up objects along the way, I like to go ahead and then grab a couple of bounties from the tavern and then unlock the blacksmithing and the alchemist professions by going to the blacksmith, clicking on the anvil. That will unlock the blacksmithing profession. I highly recommend giving a blacksmithing profession to anyone that is a melee DPS that is not a ranger, and that will increase their strength score from a raw stat point perspective. And then I highly recommend using and abusing the blacksmith profession and leveling it up. It gives you better access to later on weapons, gear, and everything like that, that albeit will eventually get outscaled, but it will let you make better armor layers in the late game. That is very useful. Not to mention, you are are also able to craft armor and weapons that you can then sell instead of just utilizing raw iron and selling that. From an alchemist perspective, you're going to be able to create medicine by combining 2 comfrey, 2 snow irises, and a empty vial. It is much better for you to do it this way than it is for you to just straight up buy medicine. And there is a little bit of an in-between area where you can actually just pay an alchemist to heal you. I generally pay the alchemist to heal me, and then I stockpile up on about 10 to 20 medicine, so I can continuously just use them while I am out and about. And then whenever I start getting low, I can just go and refill the vials with more medicine and not have to pay the alchemist anymore. Finally, I like to primarily create a couple of rags on this first stop here, and then we are going to head north to the Tiltrin lumber mill. There is going to be a hidden key in the rafters up here that's going to be a hidden ornate key. I'm going to use this to unlock the trapdoor here and then talk to the prisoners. They're going to escape, and there's also a knowledge book down here, so grab that. It's going to be on this left side, and then head back upstairs, grab all the wood here, and then as you leave, you're going to want to spend some crowns and some influence to not fight these bandits, because they have a really fun mechanic. They will essentially tell you that you have 2 days to capture some refugees and then return them to them, which we will do. So now my next goal is to actually go capture some refugees. They appear in mass on this western side of Stromcap, going along the road to Stromcap. Just go ahead and grab a band of them, try to capture 1, 2, as many as you can, really. But the important thing is to not capture the one that is named in the fight, because the leader of the refugees you can't really turn in. So it's better for you to capture all the other civilians and then take them back to the lumber mill, and you can actually sell them to the bandits that way, and the bandits will use them to create wood at the lumber mill. And not only that, but they will give you influence, wood, and crowns for each refugee that you sell to the bandits. So not only can you capture outlaws, bandits, and whatnot and sell them to the jail for a bounty, but you can also capture refugees and sell them to the lumber mill for a press gang. And now you have a steady stream, or options for steady streams, of not only crowns but lumber and influence. And that is really the all-encompassing thing that we need to focus on. Now that we know the location of the jail, the place to sell refugees, and one of the iron mines, let's go ahead and unlock the second iron mine. So we're going to head west from Stromcap, head south just past the Fisher hut, and then it's going to be just to the west here. There's going to be a band of deserters in there. Once you go ahead and defeat them, there should be anywhere from 2 to 3 iron nodes in this mine. They will refresh once a week as well, and you'll be able to, between the salt mine and this iron mine, you should be able to create quite a bit of iron every week, and that should keep you supplied in your blacksmithing adventures. Finally, at this point, we should have enough iron as well as other materials to actually create a cooking pot. I highly recommend creating a cooking pot. That way you're able to start cooking food and getting that extra bit of protein and whatnot, or that extra bit of food generation. So 1 cooked unit of food is 6 instead of a raw of 4. It's going to be better off in the long run that way. Eventually you'll be able to expand upon this and get better recipes and whatnot, but primarily these are the main things that you want to do. Now that you have some knowledge points and most likely have leveled up once or twice at this point, here are my recommended knowledge point selections. First knowledge point selection that I would ever grab is going to be career plans. It helps you not only with your level ups by rounding everything out to a 2 point, and it also spends 10 influence for every time you have to utilize it. But now that you're able to turn in refugees to gain influence, it's kind of a wash there, and you'll be okay. The second up that I would grab would be run, just to help you outrun any bandits that you're just not ready to fight, and it essentially gives you a sprint feature. And then finally, I would start building up your repertoire of recipes for the blacksmithing profession. It will allow you to create better weapons and armor along the lines and give you a steady stream of new gear that you'll be able to utilize going into new regions, higher level fights, anything of the sort. That way you don't have to rely completely on wandering caravans and or enemy loot drops. Finally, when it comes down to the cook profession, I recommend grabbing at least cooked pork, cooked mutton, and the wolf sausage learning points. I almost always grab mutton just so I can buy mutton at most of the markets in the different towns throughout the game of Wartales, and then turn it into cooked mutton for a quick and easy set of food in case I don't have enough. And then the pork and sausage links that I grab are so I'm able to actually cook on the go and not have to worry too much about food. I always grab all the salt that I possibly can, depending on how much carrying capacity I have. And then that's basically my entire first setup. So now we have learned, especially in the region of Tiltren, but now we have learned how to not only utilize a capture mechanic and turn in prisoners, but we have also learned that there is a way to capture refugees and turn them in for not only influence, but lumber and gold. And I have also shown where the 2 major iron mines are in the region of Tiltren. So when you're first starting out, this should be your general guide on how you should move throughout the region of Tiltren, and it will help you unlock more things quicker, as well as introduce you into most of the baseline mechanics. If you guys liked or enjoyed this content in any way, shape, or form, and would like to see more videos such as this, like the video, leave a comment, make that number go up, and until next time, have a good one.